Listen twice without subtitles, then listen once with text. After that, retell the story out loud or in writing. Don't forget the vocabulary below. Ready?
It was a rainy night at the old train station. The roof sang with drops and the platforms were shiny and dark. We stood under a weak light and watched the empty tracks. The air smelled like metal and wet stone. A clock ticked above us, slow and lonely. Trains were late because of the storm, and the speakers hissed and slept. We were cold but awake, and we did not want to go home yet. Then our eyes saw a small thing near a bench. It was a ring of old keys, heavy and brown with rust, and a note. The note was folded twice and looked shy in the rain beside the keys. We picked up the keys and the note. The metal felt cold in our hands, and the rings clicked softly. The paper was thin and soft, like it had been in a pocket for a long time. On the note were 2 words and a question mark. Locker 23? We looked at each other and felt a small spark of adventure. The station was quiet, but it seemed to listen to us. We did not know who lost the keys. We did not know if we should keep them. Still, we were curious. We agreed to search for the locker, and we began to walk. Rain tapped our coats as we moved past the shops. The platforms were long and the signs were old. Some lights were out and the floor had dark pools of water. We listened for steps, but we only heard the rain and the far whistle of a late train. A guard walked by and nodded, but he did not stop us. We passed empty seats, a closed cafe, and a silent ticket window. We looked at every row of lockers we could find. Numbers shone on the metal doors, bright and silver when our torchlight touched them. We counted slowly. We turned left, then right, and reached a corner where a lonely map hung. It showed lines and stops, but no one looked twice. At last we found a row with number 20. We followed it along until we saw 23. The door was scratched and the handle was stiff. We held the keys up. There were many shapes, small teeth, long teeth, and a round one like a coin. We tried one key, then another, and nothing moved. The 3rd key slipped in, but it would not turn. We smiled anyway because the game felt real. The 4th key was thin and tired, but it fit. We turned it slowly. The lock gave a soft click, like a little bird. We pulled the door open and stared. Inside was a flat bundle wrapped in blue paper and string. We set the bundle on a bench and took a breath. Our fingers shook a little as we unwrapped the string. The paper came away and showed a small travel journal with a brown cover. There was also a folded map. The journal had a name inside, but it was blurred by water. The pages smelled like dust and stories. We turned to the first page. There were dates, places, and short notes. Between some notes were simple codes like lines of numbers or small drawings of stars. A message was circled in pencil. It said, "Find the quiet bridge and follow the 3 lamps." Another line read, "Keep the keys safe." We looked around. The station had a footbridge above the tracks. It was quiet that night, and only 3 lamps burned there. We climbed the stairs and felt the cold rail under our hands. The rain made a skin of silver on every step. We stood in the middle and looked down at the long lines of rails. The journal said to follow the 3 lamps. We faced the far end of the bridge and counted the lamps again. 1, 2, 3. Beyond the 3rd lamp there was a door to a small room. The door was shut. We listened, knocked softly, and then tried the rusty handle. It did not move, so we searched for another clue. We opened the journal again. Near the page about the lamps, there was a note with numbers and little arrows. The numbers were 20, 3, and 9. The arrows pointed left, right, and down. We looked around the door. At last we saw a small box with a dial. It had points like a clock. We thought the numbers were a code for the dial. We turned it left to 20, right to 3, and down to 9. A soft click came from inside the wall. We tried the handle again. This time it turned, and the door moved a little inwards. We pushed with both hands, and the room opened like a secret. Waiting inside the small room, the air was dry and warm. Old posters hung on the wall, and a table stood under the third lamp. On the table lay a wooden box with a rusty lock. We used the thin key again, and it opened. Inside were train tickets from years ago, a compass, and a second map with red pencil lines. The red lines matched the first map from the locker. Together they showed a path from the station to a river park, then under a quiet bridge, and finally to a broken gate. In the corner was another note. It said, "You're close." We took the maps and the compass and went downstairs. The rain met us again when we left the room. We put up our hood and pulled our raincoat tight. The tracks shone like long mirrors. We crossed the bridge and went down the steps to the street. The compass needle pointed north, and the map told us to turn toward the river. We walked past a bakery, a quiet hotel, and a shut cinema. The town felt asleep. At the park fence, we found the broken gate from the map. We slipped through and followed a narrow path under the quiet bridge. There, behind a low stone, we found a small metal box. Its lid had a tiny engraved train, and it was locked. We tried the ring of keys again. The fifth key fit the small lock like it was a friend. The lid lifted, and a soft smell rose, like paper and rain. Inside was a letter, a photo, and a tiny stone bird. The letter was simple. It said the journal belonged to a traveler who loved stations and bridges. The traveler had no family left, but still had maps and stories. They wanted a kind stranger to find the keys, follow the codes, and take the journal walking again. We looked at the photo of the old station, smiled, and held the journal close. The stone bird felt warm in our hands, like a thank you.